everyone, and welcome to the Zero Waste Newsroom. I'm Robbie Kate Miranda, Communications Officer for Campaigns at GAIA Asia Pacific. We're reporting now from Geneva, Switzerland, where INC 5.2, the latest round of negotiations for the Global Plastic Treaty, is officially underway. To help us understand what's expected in the coming days, we're joined by Arpita Bhagat, GAIA Asia Pacific's Plastics Policy Officer. Hi, Arpita.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Robbie.
All right, so before we get into the big picture, how did the opening plenary go this morning? What stood out and what tone did it set for the rest of the week?
Yeah, so the opening plenary was originally supposed to be between 10 and 11:30, but it was concluded around, I would say, 12:30 this afternoon. And it was interesting in the sense that, of course, the agenda as laid out in the scenario note was already available for member states and observers to see. There were questions raised about or agenda item 3C, which is officially about organization of work, which is essentially the chair walking through how the work would be organized, the contact groups co-chairs for each contact group, as well as what is the plan for when to finish certain article discussions and when to go into the stock take plenary and when do we actually have the final reports from different contact groups. So we, of course, are still in, it's the fifth resumed session. That means the contact groups that the way they were structured and organized at last INC in Busan are still going to apply. However, there were changes announced to the co-chairs, specifically of co-chairs CG2, I think. So now we have the information that CG1 co-chairs are Brazil and Germany, CG2 is Finland, Ghana. CG3 is Australia, Palau. CG4 is Japan, Antigua, and Barbuda. Japan is the new addition to this co-chair list. And the priority, of course, for this session, as the chair said this morning, is to finalize the text of the instrument. And the expectation is that by the time there's a stock take plenary on August 8th, which is Saturday, we should have the reports from these different contract groups about the articles they have discussed. And then he also talked about the legal drafting group. This was initially constituted in CG4. The role of legal drafting group is to ensure that the text of the treaty has legal legitimacy to it. They are not supposed to negotiate. The official negotiation is still with the countries, but LDG comes in once a text is agreed to refine the text to ensure that it is legally binding. And so all of this discussion was fair and square until Saudi Arabia, on behalf of the Arab group of countries, decided to raise their point around Article 6, which is the article on supply or sustainable production, which is still in the text, but Saudi Arabia wanted it to not be included because they made repeated requests for many INCs to delete it. And the second thing they said is that we need to have focused more on the unofficial or the informal meetings instead of the contact group, which are the more sort of formal spaces to discuss and debate different provisions or different articles of the treaty text. So it was very strange, but also not unexpected entirely, because after Kingdom of Saudi Arabia spoke, they were also echoed by Iran, as well as Iraq, on not having Article 6. That is, they were very clear in the very opening plenary that they do not want any cuts on plastic polymer production, which shouldn't be a surprise because they are, after all, petrochemical heavy countries. The other thing that these countries, who are officially also known to be part of like-minded group of countries, said is to only go through the negotiations based on consensus. And of course, that is another thing that we know that they were going to be reiterating that they support, because consensus-based decision-making has allowed these negotiations to be delayed, has allowed these negotiations to not reach any kind of actual agreement, because it has given power to every country, any single country, to veto decision. And we just have an opinion piece out this afternoon from in the Rappler that folks can read, which has been written by Soon and supported by myself. If people want to know more about this issue, which is a fundamental bottleneck to the negotiation so far. So that was the second piece of information. The third interesting update was Ghana raising a point on not having CG1, contact group 1, which talks about scope as well as supply, plastic products, all of the articles which are fundamental to upstream action and midstream action with reuse to not be negotiated simultaneously with CG3, where finance is going to be discussed and hopefully decided. And they were very clear that this is important because, well, we have smaller delegations. We have delegations with only 2 members from the country. We have delegations with over 40 people coming in. But what happens if you do negotiations of 2 of the most critical pieces of articles, which are very complementary? At the same time, that means that delegations have to choose where they go. So if in one room they are thinking about how to finance the treaty, what to finance in the treaty, especially the upstream action, is being discussed in the second room, then there has to be countries should be able to participate. As we know, to recap, the main point of division in these negotiations are ambition, so that the treaty is able to actually tackle plastic pollution from the source, from the upstream, starting with the life cycle of plastic, which is reduction, going into disposal finally. And on the other side, finance that enables this work to happen, especially for developing countries, small island developing states. We need a robust fund to allow that. At the same time, the robust fund will only be useful if it has the ambition that we want, because donor countries do not just want to fund waste management, and developing countries cannot commit to reducing production, enabling reuse and redesign to happen without commitment of finance. So it was very interesting that was raised as an issue, which was supported by Senegal and the African region overall. And so the original schedule that we had has been revised. Now this afternoon, after lunch break, 3 to 6, we will have contact group 1 and contact group 4, not 3. And 7:30 onwards, after the dinner break, we will have contact group 4 and 3 again. So no contact group 2 would be discussed today. 2 is focused on Article 7, 8, 9, 10, which is all about waste management, existing plastic pollution, and just transition. So yeah, this was an important change that was made in the schedule, and this basically sets us to the key sort of theme on which the negotiations would run the following week. Back
All
to you,
right.
Robbie.
Thank you so much, Arpita, for mentioning the highlights from the opening plenary and also somehow the expectations for the next few weeks. Can you share us more maybe about the schedule for the following week?
Yeah, so as I said, we have set the tone that we will have only 2 contact groups at the same time. Discussion on finance and discussion on upstream will not happen simultaneously. So we will have, when discussion on upstream is happening, we will have discussion on the implementation measures, thinking about COP, thinking about voting at COP, thinking about different governance bodies that will be set up, thinking about technology transfer, and all of those things, all of the elements of implementation will be happening simultaneously. And then you have discussion on 2, which is on waste management related provisions, as well as transition, and 3, which is on finance, to be happening at the same time. So the expectation is still very much to to be able to somehow have the contact groups come to some kind of report or CRP, the conference room paper, in the next 2 days, so that when the stock take plenary happens um, on the 8th, we have some level of work already done. Of course, this is expectation. Like we know, we have the live schedule, we have the schedule, the draft schedule for the next 3 days. On the first day itself, that has changed. So you can expect a lot of changes. We also hope to have discussion or some kind of uproar happening in the next 3 days itself, given that it is all, hands off at this stage. So similar, the same spoilers remain using the same tactics, procedural delay tactics. But what is going to be most critical in the next few hours, at least for me, would be the discussion around the scope that would start this afternoon. And hopefully the discussion around Article 20, 24, 27, which is about the COP decision making. Back to you, Robbie.
All right. Thank you so much, Arpita, for sharing all of these updates to us and for helping us making sense of these complex issues. So we'll be following closely INC 5.2 as it unfolds in the next following days and weeks. And for our viewers, please stay informed, stay engaged, and let's keep pushing for environmental justice. Follow Zero Waste Newsroom and Zero Waste Asia News Breaks for updates on the global plastic city. You'll find us on Instagram and YouTube at Zero Waste Asia and on Facebook and LinkedIn at GAIA Asia Pacific. Once again, this is Robbie Kate Miranda, and join us again tomorrow for more updates regarding the INC 5.2 straight here from Geneva, Switzerland. Thank you.